Welcome to the I Am Transformed show, where I interview real people with real life and powerful transformations. My mission is to educate, inspire, and empower you to make unapologetic life transformations. I simply want to help you discover the power of your choice and voice, develop positive mindset, and remove those shackles that keep you in bondage so that you can transform your life. If you have excuses that are prohibiting you from pursuing your dreams, guess what? The wait is over. When you can change your mindset, you can change your life. So let's go after that life that you desire and deserve. I am your host and No Excuses Life Transformation Coach, Dr. Veronica Outlaw. I am here to help you declare and decree, I am transformed.
On behalf of Wakisha Greene, this show is dedicated to the love and memory of her son, Jeremy Fanning Jr., aka Heaven. May he rest in peace in heaven. Jeremy succumbed to suicide on October 27, 2019. His mother, Wakisha Greene, is with us today to tell the story.
Today we have a very special guest, my dear friend, my dear sister in Christ, Wakisha Greene. She's a Christian, a mother, and a grandmother, and she has a story that you do not want to miss today. This beauty has a background in biblical studies, business management, medical administration, and she's an ordained minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And not only that, she's a certified life and empowerment coach. Her perseverance and her resilience through much suffering and pain and loss would truly inspire you. She's had issues with her mother. She's been held at gunpoint. She overcame divorce, and she lost her son Jeremy to a suicide October 27th of 2019. And while this conversation is going to be difficult to have, Wakisha attests that she is stronger than she's ever been, and her mission is to help people go from peace to a place of powerful, and I mean powerful praise. She wants you to be able to rejoice and thank God for keeping you through any of your trials and tribulations. With God, Wakisha has been able to live a life free of pain, and she wants to share that journey with you. Without further ado, I bring to the front Miss Wakisha Greene.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, my dear.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Before we go any further, tell us about Wakisha Greene. Who is Wakisha?
Well, first and foremost, once again, I have told you privately, but I'm telling you publicly, thank you so much for this opportunity to share and to help bring transformation to people's lives. And who is Wakisha? First and foremost, I am a child of the Most High God. I love the Lord. I am a mother. I'm a grandmother. I have, so much, background as far as education. I'm a minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. I love who's Wakisha. I love my family. I love spending quality time with my daughter, my grandbaby, my family. And I'm on a mission to help as many people as I possibly can to be free, to go from a place of pain to a place of powerful praise, to be able to rejoice even through the midst of whatever they're going through. So that is Wakisha Greene.
Well, I'm so happy to know you, Miss Greene.
Thank you.
Wakisha, during our pre-call, you had me in tears, so I'm going to try not to cry today. I believe God is preparing you for another dimension because of your faithfulness, because of your heart to help people, even through your pain, and because you made the decision to always keep him first. I believe he's taking you to another dimension. Now, your amazing testimonies from pain to powerful praise is simply the work of the Lord in your life. What you're going to share today would have taken the average person out, but your strength in God is proof positive why we need him in our lives. So I'm hoping that the message that goes across today is simply that we need God in our lives no matter what we're going through. One of the things I want to talk about is you shared a little bit with me about you and your mother's relationship. So what you can and what you will, tell us the story with your mom.
Well, I absolutely adore my mother. I will tell you that from the beginning, it was a little rough, because growing up, my mother suffered from drug abuse. I had to step up and be mature and be the adult way before my time. And so I had to pretty much help raise my brother and my little sister. And so it was at the point where sometimes people thought my little sister was my baby. Me and my mother's relationship was, it was really good. In spite of her having the addiction, it was really good. But we kind of butt heads, because mom did things a little different. And of course, growing up, sometimes you think you know best. But then I think I was just really kind of tired of adulting at a very young age. And so I didn't have a choice but to, responsibility. And so just a little story. Me and my mother, we actually fell out. I stopped talking to my mom for about a year. And reason being is because I had just had my son and I'm still in school. I was still in high school and I had my son. And so I went home, be with me, Father. So I went home. I was looking for my mom and my son. And I'm like, okay, I'm coming home. I'm excited, ready to spend time with my baby. Just a little backdrop. I got pregnant pretty young. I had my son at 17 years old. I was really young. And so when I got home, I was looking for my baby. Being a parent, it wasn't hard because I had already stepped into that role of being a mother without, before my son, I had already had to take care of my brother and my little sister. And so when I came home that day, I couldn't find them, my mom or my baby. And Jeremy was fairly young. I think he was just a few months old. And so I went searched the neighborhood and everywhere looking for my baby boy, and my mom couldn't find him. Now I know that, my mom had, she suffered with addiction. So I was like, okay, I'm searching for them to see where they're at. Searched for a couple of hours, couldn't find them. Now at this point, I'm getting frantic because I'm like, what's going on? I don't know where my mom is. I don't know where my son is at. So literally I went around the corner and I found her at a house, and it was a crack house. And so I found my mother and my son there. When I tell you that broke me, it broke me, and it ruined our relationship. So from that point on, I grabbed my son and I left my mom there. I said, how could you? How could you have my baby here in this? And I'm sorry, apologizing. But I took him and I went back to the house. And my brother wasn't there. So my little brother was across the street. So I went to the house. I packed up all my things that I had. I packed up Jeremy's things. And then I went across the street and told my brother, here's the key, baby. I love you, but I got to go. So that was the day that I actually left. I was 17 years old and I left my mom's home, because I said enough is enough. We had already endured and been through so many things. And my brother was like, no, sis, no, don't leave me. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me. And I said, you're not mine. I can't take you with me, but I got to go. And so from that point on, I had called my dad and then my cousin. I stayed with one of my cousins. And then my dad, my mom called me in as a runaway. And so my dad called her and he said, you need to call that off because you know that she's been having many problems with you and she's ready to go. And then this is the straw that broke the camel's back, as they, that saying that we would say. And so I left and I literally did not talk to my mom for a whole year. Now, did it hurt me? Absolutely. But I was so angry with her that she would put him in harm's way like that. We weren't good. And so God just moved in my spirit because I've born, raised in the church. My great grandmother truly left me the inheritance of Jesus. And so I always had that foundation on the inside of me. And it took me some time. But I reached out to my mom and I said, I love you and I miss you and I forgive you. And so from that point on, me and my mom have been perfect. Just that's a little bit of, history with me and my mom. And that very first initial pain, that trauma, it scared me so much for me to think that I would have lost my son, because who knows what would have happened. So that's a little story, a little backdrop of me and my mom. But we're perfect today. I absolutely adore my mother. I love her and I forgave her.
Wow. Well, you just answered all of my questions I had to ask to follow up with that, wondering what happened to the relationship with you and your mom, whether or not you all ever got to a place where you could come back together and love on each other. And ultimately, what we'll be talking about in this show is forgiveness and the power of forgiveness. What would you say was the contributing factor for you even to be willing to forgive her?
I needed my mom. My mom. I was raised in a single parent home, so it was me and my mom. My dad would come around. Christmas he would pop up here and there. So it was really my mom. And regardless to what I had to endure, what responsibilities I had to take on, that's still my mom. That is my mother, and I needed her, and I knew she needed me because I was hearing people were saying, "Your mom is looking for you, and she needs you." And I said, "I will call her." And so that's what pretty much led me is because we need one another. You only get one mama.
Right. Tell us about the incident with your son's dad where you were held at gunpoint. Share that story with us.
Okay. That was with my son's dad. And I act with him. How that happened was they used to watch my son when I used to go to work. I used to work pretty late and I would get off at like midnight every night. I worked and I went to school. So I finished school and I worked, along with me having my son. And so they would keep an eye on my son while I worked. So one evening I came this is right before I went to work. I came to the house to bring Jeremy to Big Jeremy. They share the same name. So I said, okay, I'll see y'all later. I got to go. And I felt something was going on. I just felt something was going on with him. He was off. I can't pinpoint what's going on, but he's off. And I said, something's wrong, but I got to get to work. So I left him there, left my baby there. His mom was there and his two sisters were there as well. So I knew he was in good hands. I didn't feel that he was in harm's way. And so I got off from work, came to their house. And I said, okay, I'm coming. I'm here for Jeremy. And this was like 12:30 at night. He came out of the house and he was like, you're not going nowhere. And I'm like, ooh, hold up. I'm not going anywhere. What's going on with you? You're in the house right now. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong. And I'm like, Jeremy, just give me Jeremy, and I can go home. Because I had a curfew. My curfew was 2:00 because at that point I stayed with my dad, and daddy expected me to be home by 2. I said, daddy's going to be waiting on me. I need to go. Let me get Jeremy and let me go. And he was like, no, go in the house so I can talk to you. So I go in the house and he said, this is what he did. He took my keys. He threw my keys. The keys went all over the place. So I didn't know what key was what. I was sitting there on the couch. I'm like, really? What are you doing? And then his sister came out of the room because he said, I got something for you. I got something for you. And I said, what is that? His sister came out of the room and she said, you need to go out the back door. Go. Now, at this point, I don't have no keys, no nothing. So I go out the back door and I just run. I'm running. Because, at the time we didn't have cell phones. I had a pager. So I knew my dad was going to be looking for me. I'm like, what I need to get to a phone. I need to get to a phone so I can get in touch with my dad. So he knows that I'm not in a good place. Jeremy's trying to call, do something. He's not good right now. I don't know what it is, but he's not good. And I'm running, literally running for my life. I turn around and look and I saw him chasing after me. And immediately I dropped to my knees. It was like all my strength, everything on the inside of me I lost everything. My power, my strength, my endurance, everything. I didn't have it because I just gave up. And so I fell to my knees and he came up behind me, started hitting me in my head. He said, I told you to take to the house and this and this and that. So we get to the house. I turn around and I'm like, Keisha, just go back to this house. I don't know what is going on with him. Because this is not how Jeremy normally acts. Something's wrong. And so just go to the house. I go back to the house and then I see him pull a sawed-off shotgun from the side of the house. And I said, oh my gosh. Immediately I begin to pray. And I said, Father, please help me. I knew who to call on. I said, Father, please help me. Help me. I don't know what's going on. Am I going to die today? Is this really happening? So I went back in the house and I'm like, Jeremy, please just let me go. Give me my son so I can go. He was like, no, you get up and go to the room right now. And so I sat there. It was like I was numb. I couldn't move. I couldn't do nothing. And I said, will you please just give me my baby so I can go home? I said, I need to go. No, go to the room right now. You think I'm playing with and he cursing me out. And I said, girl, get up and go to the room. before he do something that really to harm you. So I went into his room, and he said he got very jealous. And so he didn't like me to have friends or anything. And so he started throwing up. Yeah, if I go find your friends and, F them, do whatever. He was just really nasty. And so he literally pointed that gun to my head, and he said, I should take your life right now. I should kill you right now. And I put my head down and I said, Father, please. And the only thing that I could see was my son. I could see him in my mind. And I said, please help me, Father. If you get me out of this, I will not look back. I will not look back. I will go far away from here to protect me and my son. Time went on. He still wouldn't allow me to go nowhere. And he said, as a matter of fact, here, he handed me the gun. And he said, you better kill me before I kill you. Do you know, I grabbed that gun and I was this close to taking his life. And I said, he's done. You got one time to even think you're going to harm me. You got one time. And I held that gun to him, and God said, no. I seen visions. I would spend the rest of my life in prison. What about my son? So I dropped the gun down on the floor. He still wouldn't allow me to leave. He laid down on the bed. Will you lay down? Just lay down. Lay down. And I'm just crying. I'm crying. I'm hurting. I'm terrified for my life. My son had no idea. They had no idea what was going on, and they were in the other room. Nobody came out to help me at all. They did not come out to help me. His sisters and his mom didn't come out to help me at all. And they knew that he was trying to harm me, and they didn't come out and help me at all. And so they had Jeremy in the other room, and he literally was like, what are you doing? Lay down, just lay down. And he wanted me to lay down. I said, Jeremy, Daddy's waiting on me. He's looking for me. And then so my dad started texting me, and on the pager, what have you, he paged me. And I'm like, Daddy's looking for me. I have got to go. So I had to hold it together, even though I was terrified. I was crying, but I had to hold it together so that I can get out of there. So in my mind, I'm planning an escape. And I said, how am I going to get out of here? How am I going to get out of here? I need my son, and then I need to go. So he still didn't let me leave. It was the next morning when he let me leave, and he wanted me to lay down with him. Will you lay down? So I laid down next to him, and he fell asleep. And then I was just laying there scared, terrified. Now mind you, I'm young, 17 years old, terrified. And I said, Father, please let me go. Release me. Get me out of this. Get me out of this. Please get me out of this. And so that morning he woke up and I said, Daddy's he's paging me. I need to go call him. So he allowed me to go down. So I left out and walked down to the payphone, and I called my daddy and I said, Daddy, I'm okay. I said, Daddy, things wasn't good for me. He said, well, at least you wasn't in jail. I hear from you. I know you okay. I know nothing happened to you. I said, no, Daddy, I was in a bad place last night, but I'm okay. I said, but I'm going to find a way to get home. But Jeremy held me. He held me. And at that point, I didn't tell my dad that he held a gun to my head. I didn't, because I knew that I would do something to my father. And so when I got back to the house, I said, yeah, Jeremy, I need to go. Daddy's really needs me. So let me get, if you'll help me get my keys and get Jeremy. And at that time, whatever was going on, he was over it. Okay. And so, thank you, Lord. But I got my baby and I got out of there, and I got my keys and everything. I stopped by my mom's and I said, Mama, and I explained to her what had happened to me. And she said, baby, you've got to go. You got to go. I said, and do you know the scariest part for me is that somebody was getting ready to die, and it wasn't going to be me, because I was going to do everything that I possibly could to take him out. She said, baby, you got to go. So I left from my mom's house and went to my dad's, and I went home and I told Daddy, I said, Daddy, I really need to talk to you. So I sat my dad down and I talked to him. Daddy, I said, Jeremy held a gun to my head last night. He almost took my life. And I explained everything that happened. And he was like, what? My dad took off out the door, and he immediately went searching for him. He was gone. In the process of my daddy, I said, Daddy, no. And I'm at the door. Daddy gone. And I said, Daddy, please don't go. I said, but I got to go. I already called my aunts in Colorado, my uncle. They're on the way. They're coming to get me. I'm gone. And so he said, no, baby, no, I don't want you to go. So he left. And in the midst of my dad being gone, I packed my car, everything that I had. I packed my car, packed my baby, and we were ready. And I was sitting in my car waiting on my dad to come back. And I said, Daddy, I gotta go because somebody's going to die. Honest, somebody's going to, and it's not gonna be me. It's not. I promise you, it's not. I said, God got me out of a bad situation last night. I gotta go. So I called my aunts in Colorado and my uncle, and they came for me. They drove from Colorado, and they got a hotel for me. We stayed overnight in the hotel, and then that next morning we were gone. And that was in 1995. I fled. I ran for my life. And I found out because my mom and my brother and them were still there. And my mom, she would call me and she's like, Keisha, he's looking for you. He's looking for you. And I'm in Colorado, terrified, looking over my shoulder because I was thinking that he was going to find me. Eventually, he would find me. I didn't tell nobody but my mom and my dad that I was leaving. And so they came, my family came from Colorado to get me. And then we came to Colorado. And that's what happened with that.
How long were the two of you dating?
Shoot, probably about 2 years.
And there were no signs of abuse before?
Not at all.
Night?
I mean, he was very, sweet. He had changed because he had got in the streets and he was gang banging and doing all that. So I knew that he had changed, but he was still Jeremy to me. You know what I'm saying? So he write poetry. Wrote me love letters. Everything. So something he just flipped. And yeah, and he was so different. So yeah, in that time, and we were actually engaged to be married. Yeah, and so that's why I was so confused because I had no idea what was going on.
Did you ever find out what happened in that moment?
He was they call it wet. So I guess they dip their blunts in embalming fluid. So it do something to them. It triggers their mind to take them to a whole nother place. And I found out that some years later, what happened. Worst decision I ever made is to try to allow him to see his son, trying to do the right thing. And I went to his house. Everything was okay for a minute. He took Jeremy to the back. Do you know he went out the window with my son?
Oh, wow.
He left out the window with my son. I was there for about a week trying to get my son back. I was pregnant at the time. I'm pregnant with my daughter, and so he took my son. And I had no idea where he went. And when I tell you, I was on a rampage. I had this pole and I said, before I leave, I called my job in Colorado. I said, I will not be back until I get my son. His dad has taken him. He's kidnapped him and I have no idea where he's at. So I called my ex-husband and I said, he took him. And he was like, I know you were trying to do the right thing, but I'm coming. So he told this when he was active duty military, I'm leaving. I'm gone. My family needs me. So he came to Kansas and we literally searched. And I showed up to his family's house. I said, where is my son? Where is my son? And they, my ex-husband was trying to calm me down. My cousin, she's still there with me, right there with me. She's like, Keish, calm down. Please calm down because you're pregnant. We're going to get Jeremy. We're going to get him. I said, I know we're going to get him. God is going to bring me my son back. I don't know. And so I went to old friend's house looking for him. I don't know where he's at. I don't know. And they knew where he was at. Every last one of them that had involvement knew exactly where he took my son. So we were there for about a week. And then finally I had to go to the courthouse, prove that I had sole custody of my son, get all the paperwork and everything. And then finally they gave him 48 hours to return my son and so we met. They called me and they said, we got him. So meet us at the police station. And then I got my son and we were gone. We were gone. But then I got Jeremy. He's like, Mama, you left me. Had on clothes, pants cut up, everything. And I said, no, baby. And it broke me. I said, Mama didn't leave you. Mama's been right here. I have been right here waiting for you to come. I didn't go anywhere because I love you. He thought that I had left him because that's what they were telling him. Yeah, your mama left. She left you with me. No. I would never do that. And Jeremy wasn't even, how old was Jeremy at the time? He was young. He was 2. I was like 2 years old when that happened. And so I got my baby and we came back to Colorado.
So was Jeremy taken care of? Even through all of that, was he taken care of?
Yeah, they took care of it. I think it was his mom and his sisters. They took
Okay.
care of him. Yeah,
So that probably was a tactic to get back at you,
for
you think?
taking him. Yeah.
So whatever happened to him in that situation?
We left, and Jeremy didn't. He never. And of course, the older Jeremy got, I explained to him. I said, baby, I said, because he would ask, Mom, why is my daddy not around? At this point, I'm already married. And he was like, well, I want to see my brother, meet my brother. I know I got a brother. I said, you absolutely do. Now, I didn't withhold nothing from Jeremy. I was always very honest, but I didn't go into the deep with my son. I didn't, because I told him, I said, son, I left. I took you and I ran because your daddy tried to kill me. So I ran so I could save me and I can save you. Now, when we got to Colorado, my son, Jeremy, wasn't even one yet, and he knew how to hit up every single gang sign. He's gang signs because that's what his dad was into. So he picked it up. And I said, and I explained to Jeremy, I said, I have spent all my life trying to protect you from that, and Jeremy was 16 years old. And so remember they used to have MySpace?
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremy was on MySpace and has a little account and everything. And he said, Mom, now me and my kids' relationships are so open. We talk about everything, and he's like, Mom, somebody messaged me and said that they're my sister. We share the same dad. Immediately, my heart dropped because all these years I had kept him away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, sister, I said, he don't have no sister. And I said, Jeremy, that's your dad. Because the verbiage and the things that he was saying, I said, that's your dad. That's not no sister. He kept communicating with him. And I said, keep talking to him so I can feel what he's saying and what's going on. And sure enough, he said, no, this is not your sister. Eventually, he said, no, this is not your sister. This is your pops.
Wow.
16 years old. That's when it changed the whole course of my son's life.
How so?
Because he was angry because he wanted to see his dad because he didn't know. He yearned for his daddy and his brother. And so when he found him, he's talking all this good stuff. And so Jeremy's like, man, I finally get an opportunity to meet my daddy. And I said, son, baby, no. And I refused. And he was angry with me. Mom, why won't you let me see my dad? I said, son, no, because I have the Spirit of God on the inside of me, baby, and it is not going to be good. It's not. I know it's not going to be good. Mom, I want to see. So it took me some time. And Jeremy literally started lashing out. He was so angry with me. And you just trying to keep me from my dad and my brother. And then, I went through it with my baby, with Jeremy. And I talked to my husband. I said, maybe I should let him go. I don't want him to hate me because all I've ever tried to do was protect him. And he said, let him go so he can see. So he went, I took him down there to Kansas, and Jeremy was 16. And so we met at one of our, auntie's house. Those aunties that are not really your aunties, but you grew up with them and they will hand it to you. So that was So we met at one of my auntie's houses, and they lived across the street. So I hadn't seen him in years. And so he walked across the street, and him and Jeremy, so he hugged, embraced Jeremy, and they embraced one another. And that was the hardest thing for me. But I knew I needed to do that for my son. They began to talk and all that. So he visited with him for a little while. I actually left him there so he can visit with them and have that time. And I left, and I was just like, I told my husband, my ex-husband at the time, I said, I am so terrified. I know Jeremy's 16 and I know he can hold his own because that's how I raised him, how we raised him. I said, but I on the inside, I don't feel good about this. I left him for a few hours, and then I went back to get him. Then we, of course, after the visit, we came back to Colorado, and then time had went past. They were communicating with one another and all of that. And so Jeremy felt better because he finally got an opportunity to meet his dad and his brother. And so time had went by, and so one summer I allowed him to go to be with his dad, and he stayed for a whole month. And so in that month, he was there with them, and he got an opportunity to see how they, how they were and all of that. Now they were fine, they were okay, but then Big Jeremy and Little Jeremy started butting heads because Little Jeremy is very strong-willed. He knew who he was. So one conversation, little Jeremy told me, he said, Mom, he told me that you're spoiled, and you're on your mama's, and he said, my mother raised me to be a man. Excuse me. My mother raised me to be a man and to love. But so don't you ever talk about my mom. So they butt heads, and he called me. He said, Mom, I'm ready to come home. I said, are you sure, son? You ready? I'm ready to come home. I said, let me tell you something. Before you do come home, let me set some expectations, some boundaries. You will not, as long as you're under my roof, you will respect me. I'm your mother. I said, you will not come home with that foolishness. I said, I hope you got out of your system what you needed. I said, but you are absolutely ready. You know you can always come home, baby. I will never turn you away. So he came home, and he was fine. I no longer had any more problems out of my son.
Yeah. So fast forward, have you gotten to a place of forgiveness with Big Jeremy?
Absolutely. I had it took me some time, but yeah, even shortly after they had connected when Jeremy was 16, I said, you know what, Father, I got to get to a place where I can forgive this man for everything that he has done for the sake of me and for my son. And so I did. I prayed, and I didn't tell anybody, but I told God. I said, I forgive him for everything that he's done. And so now I'm going to release my son to you, because ultimately he's your son. You just entrusted me to raise him right, and so that's when I did. I forgave him.
Did you ever have a conversation with him about forgiveness?
I did. We later on he asked Jeremy if he could call me. And then so Jeremy was like, Mom, is it okay if Dad call you, because he wants to talk to you? And I was like, absolutely. So he called, and I talked to him, and he said, I just wanted to apologize.
Wow.
He said, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to spend time to get to know my son. And I said, Jeremy, I forgave you years ago. And that was all. He said, do you need anything from me? I said, I just need you to be a father to my son.
And was he that?
Somewhat.
What?
He was more of a homeboy to Jeremy than he was a father.
Okay. Let's pause for a moment to take a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Living Life Out Loud, LLC is a family-owned one-stop shop business. Wakisha Greene and her children want to be a resource to many by providing life empowerment coaching, packages, business consulting, and resources such as worksheets, books, and online resources that will help one discover, develop, grow, live in abundance, and walk in purpose. Their products include online shop with custom design apparel and merchandise, which provides a way to express how one feels outwardly. They believe a well-balanced life is the ultimate goal to a successful life. So they are here to serve, educate, develop, and partner with you to ensure that your dreams and visions are fulfilled. Contact Living Life Out Loud, LLC at www.livinglifeoutloudllc.com for more information.
Welcome back to the I Am Transformed show with Dr. Veronica Outlaw. So the last thing we're going to talk about is the transition of your son, Jeremy, to suicide October 27th of 2019, just over a year ago. Tell us, before you go into that, tell us about Jeremy, who he was to you as a person, and then lead into the events of his suicide.
Not only was Jeremy my son, but Jeremy was, that was my protector. Anybody that knows Jeremy knows that don't mess with his mama. Do not mess with my Mom Deuce. My name is Mom Deuce, and my other children, that their friends, they call me Mom Deuce as well, because they know. And so Jeremy was such a light. Such a light. Jeremy wasn't even only my son. Jeremy was my business partner. He was my protector. We prayed together. I would call him, talk about business stuff. And Jeremy picked up the gift. This is a gift that Jeremy had of music and writing. And so take it back just a quick second. Me and my two cousins, we had a music group called Silent Rain. And this is when Jeremy was a young boy. And so me and my cousins, trying to get our music. We were right and all of that. And so we eventually got to the place where we no longer wanted to do that because I didn't want to be in that spotlight like that, because I know that that industry could be nasty, and I wanted to protect my children. And so Jeremy picked that up. He picked it up. So he learned that he can write. His own music. Jeremy had over 500 plus songs that he wrote, produced himself.
Wow.
Heaven. And his nickname for me was Heaven. Heaven on Earth. So that was his music, Heaven on Earth Promotions. And so he spent much time working on his craft. And so, and also just helping and being a light to so many people. So Jeremy he didn't really realize how much of an impact he had. Jeremy absolutely adored the Lord. Privately, he would go and he would bless somebody. How you doing? What's going on? And I'm learning all of this. I knew that he was doing that, but to the extent I didn't know until he passed who all Jeremy had impacted, because I knew he was working. God was using him, and he would speak through his music, his lyrics, and you could always tell where Jeremy was at emotionally, because you can hear it in his sound. God gave him a voice, and I told him, son, even if you don't have any music to it, it's spoken word. I said, but what you need to do is you need to write music that's going to impact people and change we don't want it to change their lives. We want it to transform their lives, because change, you can go back.
Right.
Transformation, you cannot go back. So this is the music that you need to write, and kind of bring it back from that, all that cursing and everything in his music. So he would listen to mama. He would, and so eventually he started changing his lyrics. And I told him, I said, 20, 30, 40, 50 years down the line, you want people to revisit your music and say, oh, that's heaven. Oh, that's heaven. Listen to that sound and listen to his lyrics. Listen to him speak. And he speak about the Lord. He speak about transformation. He speaks about being real. And he always say, keep it 100, not 100, keep it 100. Yeah. And so I would go to his shows and all of that, just, to support him. And he really was gifted. Not only because that was my son, but I saw that was a gift that God placed on the inside of him to deliver the word, to speak life into other people, to encourage them to be who God has purposed them to be. And he was like, Mom Deuce, you need to get back in the studio. I said, no, baby, Mama don't need to get back in the studio. God don't want to use me in that manner. That's your gift. So that was Jeremy. And he left me with 5 children. So I have 5 grandbabies from him, and I have 1 from my daughter. So I have 6 grandbabies, but Jeremy left me with 5. Adored his children. So that was Jeremy.
So how old was Jeremy when this happened? And if you can share, what events led up to him committing suicide?
Jeremy was broken. He was because through life, it was hard for him, and his thing is he didn't want to keep a job because he believed that he was a born entrepreneur, and he wanted his own. So he worked on his craft. And I said, son, short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. Keep a job, keep some employment to take care of you and your family. But when you're done with that job, then you work on your craft. And then eventually when you get to the place where you can release that job, then you do that. But in the meantime, so he made it a little hard for himself, because he wouldn't keep employment. And so it was tough. And then so he made a decision. I had told him like 3 years prior to me leaving and we're moving. And I moved to Georgia, July of 2019. And I told him, 3 years up, and I said, son, we're getting ready to move. I'll be waiting for you to join us. And so he's like, okay, Mom Deuce, I know it's time to leave Colorado. I left, and he had decided to go to Kansas to be with his dad and them because he wanted to, be there. And he said, Mom Deuce, do you think I should go? And I said, let me tell you something, pray about it. I'm always directing my kids to the Lord. And I said, son, pray about it. And if God gives you a peace that this is a decision that you need to make, then you go for it. But if he does not, don't you move until he say shift. And then you come out here with me. I think it was like a week had passed. Then he finally made the decision to go ahead and go to Kansas and to be with his dad. And he went to Kansas, and I prayed and I said, Father, reveal to him what's underneath, what's hidden. I need you to reveal to him what's hidden, because he's still seeking that love, that attention, that affection from Big Jeremy. He's still seeking that. And so I said, reveal to him why he's there. And so he went to Kansas. God began to reveal truth to Jeremy. So he had moved him, his girlfriend, and his 3 children. He had moved them to Wichita with him. And he, fresh start, he wanted to start over, and, he wanted to be there. And him and his dad got into it. Apparently his dad tried to choke him out. They got into it, and his dad tried to choke him out, and he was angry, beyond angry. My brother texted me, and at the time I'm in a real estate class, and I'm like, my brother was like, sis, call me. It's Jeremy. And I'm like, I'm stepping immediately. And I'm in Georgia at this time. And so I said, what's going on? What's going on with my baby? What's wrong? And he was like, well, apparently Big Jeremy tried to choke him out. They got into it, and Jeremy's not happy at all. So I said, tell Jeremy he needs to call me. Because my brother asked him, did you call your mom and let her know? No, I didn't want to worry mom with that. I said, you tell my baby to call me. So he called me, hey, mom, you all right? You out of your class? And I said, no, what's going on with you? What happened? And he was telling me what was going on. And his girlfriend literally had to get Big Jeremy off of him because he choked him out to the point where he passed out. He was not limber, she said. And she got on him and said, will you get off of him? So Jeremy came too. And he said, Mom, I didn't really realize what had happened until I came to. And then they left his house. And that's when rage set in. He said, Mom, I need to do it. I said, do what? He said, I need to take his life, because ever since I've been here, I've been learning that he has hurt so many people. Why would God allow something like that to exist, and all he does is hurt people? I feel that it's my responsibility to kill him. And I said, no, baby, no, that is not for you. You need to release him to God. You need to release him to God, and you need to get out of there. He was actively pursuing a gun, and he told me, I am trying to find a gun so I can kill him. No, baby. He said he hurt me. He hurt you. He hurt so many people. I said, get out of there. You allow God to handle that. And so he made the decision to leave and go back to Colorado to be with his kids, because he said, Mom, I really want to be with my kids, because the girlfriend had left, and because they had got into it there, she left, went back to Colorado. So he was like, I'm going back, Mom. And I said, okay. He said, but I know this girl is going to be the death of me. And I said, no, don't be speaking that. He said, because all I want is my kids. All I want is my kids. And I'm leaving this bad situation. And I know I'm going right back into this bad situation, because she was very, very manipulative. They got into it. She would always say, always using his children against him. I would hear these conversations. He would call me sometimes on speakerphone so I can hear what was going on. So I would not be on him for, because when you're wrong, you're wrong. And I told both of them. And I said, if you guys cannot get along, y'all need to be apart. And I would tell them that. And I told Jeremy, I said, son, you're going back? He was like, Mom, I just want my kids. I want my kids. So he went back. Nobody in college, my family didn't know that he went back, because he didn't want anybody to know he was back. He just really wanted to be with his kids. He made it. We were messaging each other. We called each other, and he's like, Mom Deuce, I made it to Colorado, and I'm here with my babies. So time had went past, and we would talk to him. Me and my daughter, we would call him on FaceTime so I could see him. I said, I need to see him, because I know everything that he's going through. I need to see him, his spirit. I need to see him. And so she would call him on FaceTime. Hey, son. Hey, Mom Deuce. How you doing? But then when he would say mama, I knew that something was going on, because when you go from Mom Deuce to mama, there's something wrong. And I said, Mama, what's going on, baby? Talk to me. And then he just started crying. And he said, I am trying my best to do right by everybody. All I want is my kids, mama. I said, son, and you got them. I said, but if it's not working between y'all two, then separate yourself because it's not good. That's a yoke. And God says that we got to be careful who we yoke ourselves up with.
Amen.
You do, and she's got problems, some things that she's dealing with from how she was raised, and then you got some problems that you're dealing with, and so it's just not healthy. Release yourself from that relationship. Get yourself on solid ground so that y'all can joint custody of your children, so y'all can work together to co-parent your children, but you don't have to be together. I know, Mom Deuce, I know. So he had finally made the decision to remove on. So him and this other young lady was together, and she was, found out she was pregnant. So he finally made the decision to kind of walk away. But he went over to see his children, and he went over to her house, to, the children's mother, went over to her mother's house, and he said, this is what she told me happened. He came to the door and he was knocking on the door. Let me see my babies for the last time. And she's like, what are you talking about? You're not going to see them because you're probably with that, talking about the other girl. And so, that's the kind of relationship they had. It wasn't healthy. And so he was like, just let me see my kids. Will you please let me see my kids? She wouldn't let him see them for a minute. So he turns around and he starts walking off, and she goes chasing after him. I thought you wanted to see your kids. You don't want to see your kids. You're just with that. And it was just it was too much. And so he turned around, he walked back to the house, and she let him see his kids. He kissed them, gave him a hug. He kissed him, and he turned around and he started beating her. He pulled the gun out of his backpack. He started beating her in the head with the gun. So he stopped himself. He walked around their apartment. And then she said, what are you going to do with that gun? What are you doing? So she said they were kind of tussling. What are you going to do with that gun? And he said, either I'm going to jail or I'm going to hell, but I'm finna show you. And he held the gun up to his head and he took his life. And October 27th, it was 10 minutes before 8 o'clock that night, because I was getting ready to get off from work and I got a phone call. Her sister was calling me, and I said, hold on, baby, I got to call you back on Facebook Messenger, whatever. She was calling me. And I said, I got to call you back. I get off in about 10 minutes. She said, call me. It's an emergency. It's Jeremy. So I said, excuse me, y'all. I got to take this phone call because I heard something going on with my baby. I'm all the way in Georgia. I can't get to him fast enough, so I don't know what happened. So I was like, what's going on? Well, Jeremy shot himself. I'm sorry I have to deliver this news to you. And I just lost it. I lost it. And I said, what? No. What happened? No. So they was like, Wakisha, go home, go. And so I get in my car and I'm driving. I called my brother and I told him, I said, I need you to go to the hospital. I need you. So I have enough strength on the inside of me to call my brother and say, get to the hospital. Jeremy's there. He shot himself in the head and I need you to go because I can't get there. I need you to go. Okay, sis. Well, I didn't even know Jeremy was here. And so he drove and they went to the hospital, and I called my ex-husband and I said, I frantic. And I said, Jeremy shot himself. Oh my gosh. And then I called my daughter because they had went to Florida to go get one of her friends that was going through a rough time. And then they were going to bring her back so she can get on a plane and go to Colorado. And I called my baby girl and I said, Treya, Jeremy. And she said, all I kept saying, Mom, she said, Mom, all you kept saying was Jeremy. And I said, she's like, what? I said, I got to call you right back. Because then the hospital was calling me. And then they was like, Miss Greene, we need you to get down here because your son, and it's not looking good. So I was like, I'm all the way in Georgia. I am all the way in Georgia. I can't get to him. Please, Father, please help him. Father, please help my son. I can't get to him. I called my daughter back and she was like, what? So she's all the way in Florida. She's trying to make her way back to me. And then I called my apostle and I'm talking to her and I was numb. And my brother, when I talked to him, he was like, pull over, sis. You can't be driving. I said, I just got to get home. I just got to get home. And I got home and I'm on the phone with my apostle. And she was there with me. She was there, and I was just crying, and I couldn't think of I'm not there. I'm not there with my baby, and he needs me. I said, Father, will you please spare his life? Please spare his life. Just let me get to him. He has so much more that he didn't even realize that he needed to do here on this earth. No, please don't let him go. Please don't take him away from me. And my apostle, she told me, she was on the phone with me, and I literally couldn't move. I made it home. I couldn't move. She said, all I kept saying was, Father, help me. Father, help me. She said, that's all you kept saying was, Father, help me. And she said, I have never heard a mother, anybody weep for their child. And you wept for your child. Because the doctors had called me back and they told me he didn't make it. And I said, why? How am I supposed to live without my son? My everything. It was like everything was ripped from me. Everything that I had lived for was ripped from me. When I found that I lost my son, I told the Lord, I said, Father, I know we go through some things, but I did not know that I was going to have to endure this. And I was going to have to journey without my son. I didn't know that I was going to have to journey without my baby, my rock. Of course, my God is my everything. But my son, he protected his mama. And he loved his mama. And he was supposed to came out to Georgia with us after he got his stuff straight. He didn't plan to take his life. But in that moment, like the detectives told me, Miss Greene, I don't think your son saw any other way because of the decision that he made prior to him taking his life. Because we didn't believe in suicide. We didn't believe in taking your life. And that's why I said, no, this did not happen. This didn't happen, Father. This didn't happen. And it happened, and so I got many people, they were like, Jeremy didn't plan suicide. I said, I know he didn't plan it. And like I was talking to my apostle, it was a while ago, and she was she was my rock. She was my rock, my ex-husband. They were there. And then I had my family. They were there through everything. My daughter, my baby girl was there. She said, you can do this. I know it's hard. I don't understand how you feel. I don't understand how you feel, but I know you can do this. And I said, Father, so time went forth, and I came back to Colorado. I took care of the affairs and everything with that. And I went back to Georgia, and I said, now how do I continue? I was asleep, and God just woke me up, and I said, how do I continue? I know you have a huge assignment on my life, but how do I continue? How do I continue to be a blessing to somebody else? How do I continue to impact many people's lives? How do I continue? And he said, continue. And I know that I was carrying that cross for somebody else. I carry these crosses, these burdens, these hurts, these pains for somebody else. If he bring you to it, he will bring you through it. And that's what happened with Jeremy. And I prayed and I asked God to heal this hole that was on the inside of me. Heal this hole that's on the inside of me so that I can continue. Heal me, Father. Please heal me, because I'm broken. I don't know if I can continue. That's how I felt. I have lost everything. I lost my baby. And he reminded me, you still have Andrea. You still have your grandbabies. And so one morning he woke me up, and I kept praying for healing. I kept praying for wholeness, for God to deliver me from the pain, from the hurt, for this hole that was on the inside of me. And one morning I woke up and he reminded me about the woman with the issue of blood. Because of her faith, she said, if only I can get to Jesus and touch his garment, will I be made whole? And he reminded me of that passage. And he said, woman of God, my child, because of your faith, are you made whole? This day, you will walk in your wholeness, because you now will be able to help somebody go from that place of pain to the place of praise. I got to the place where I was no longer mourning my son, but I was rejoicing because I knew that my baby was no longer in a place of pain. But to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And he is with my heavenly Father. And he's sitting at that table. He's dancing and he is rejoicing. And I know he's in the best place. And I said, one day, Father, one day, Son, I will see you again. But Mama got some work to do. Because by the touch of his hem, the garment, I touched that hem of his garment. And I've been touching for my whole life. My great grandmother gave me the inheritance of Jesus. So I knew who could heal me. And from that point forward, I said, I am made whole. Now you go out, your hands and feet for the kingdom. You go out and you show others how they too can journey from the place of pain to the place of a powerful praise. That's my story. For me, that's why it's so important for you to have godly counsel to pour into you so that you can continue to do what God purposed for you to do and to get through the levels of pain, because each one of us are going to go through pain. We're going to go through something. We're not exempt. Look at Jesus. What did Jesus go through? And then, you know what I think about all the time when he was on the cross and he said, forgive them for they know not what they do. Even then, just a reminder, that's how I was able. That's how I'm able to continue, is because my Father, and I sit in the presence of my Father every day. And when I feel overwhelmed or, anxious, it says, do not be anxious for nothing. I cast all my cares upon him. I do. I got my secret closet, my secret place. I'm in my closet. I'm praying in, and I stay there. That's how I'm able to continue and to be so strong. So I'm so grateful. I'm so humbled. And I'm so grateful for you allowing me to share.
Any last words on anything?
I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for, I told you privately, but I tell you publicly as well. And you, Veronica, you actually encouraged me, because when you sent me the invite, I said, oh, no. Because what you said was, you have a story, and I would love for you to share your testimony with the world. And I'm like, think about this for a minute before you respond, because you're faithful. And when you tell somebody you're going to do something, you do it. So don't you respond yet. And I said, immediately went to the Lord and I said, Father, is it time? He said, it's time. So I'm obedient. And so you encouraged me to move forward in what God had already wanted me to do.
The host from the I Am Transformed show would like to hear from you. If you have a transforming story to share, questions to ask, a commercial you would like to broadcast, or become a sponsor, email us at iamtransformedshow@gmail.com. Those with questions or comments, rest assured your identity will not be revealed on the show. If you have been blessed, we love you to be a blessing to others by being a special guest on the show. Help share the word by liking, following, and or sharing the I Am Transformed show with others. You may also find us on YouTube, Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Facebook, and Instagram at I Am Transformed Show. You can also find us on TikTok at Dr. Veronica Outlaw. We look forward to connecting with you. You may also support the show by sending donations to PayPal at www.paypal.me/Veronica Outlaw or via Cash App at $Veronica Outlaw. We thank you in advance and we speak blessings over you and your family.
Well, my friend, I've come to the end of the show. It was an absolute honor and pleasure to serve you today. Thank you for tuning in to the I Am Transformed show with Dr. Veronica Outlaw, the show where we interview real people with real life transformations. Be on the lookout for another episode on next Sunday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Until then, speak life over yourself and pursue your dreams and go after that life that you desire and deserve. Let's tackle these excuses that are hindering you so that you can declare and decree, I am transformed. God bless you.